In a small village named Amiri, where red sand coated every path and hunger lingered in every home, lived a young woman named Glory. She was only 22 years old, yet her eyes seemed to hold the weight of 100 lifetimes, deep, weary, and burdened with unspoken sorrow. Since her mother passed away 5 years ago, Glory's life had known no peace. Her father, Thomas, once a kind-hearted and gentle farmer, had become a rough, angry drunk. As if things couldn't get worse, he remarried a harsh woman named Grace, who treated Glory like a thorn in her side. Day after day, Glory took care of everything at home, cooking, chopping firewood, sweeping the yard, working the fields, from dawn till dusk, and then going to bed with an empty stomach. Everyone in the village felt sorry for her, but no one dared speak up. Thomas's madness had become a haunting fear. And one day, a young man named Harrison arrived from the city. Though his clothes were worn and his shoes falling apart, his eyes shone with intelligence and determination. He worked for Thomas for 3 months, clearing weeds, planting cassava, and hauling heavy loads from early morning till sunset. But despite everything, Thomas refused to pay him. Next week, he'd say. Maybe tomorrow. Let me sell the crops first. Empty promises, repeated over and over, until one scorching afternoon, exhausted and angry, Harrison stood before Thomas. "Sir, please pay me today," he said. Thomas scratched his head, his eyes wandering around the yard before settling on Glory, who was silently sweeping, her face drenched in sweat and fatigue. He chuckled mockingly. "You want money?" "Yes, sir, I've worked for 3 full months." "Then take the girl," he said, pointing at Glory. Harrison was stunned. "Take who?" "My daughter. She's useless. Take her. She's your payment." Glory's heart shattered. She dropped the broom, her eyes welling up with tears. "Mother, please don't." "Silence!" Thomas shouted. "You should be happy someone wants to take you." Grace stood with her arms crossed, a cruel smile on her face. "Good, one less mouth to feed." Glory collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she begged and shook her head. But it was useless. No one listened. No one cared. Harrison looked at her. Though her body was worn down, there was something strange and beautiful in her eyes. Not just outward beauty, but something deeper within her soul, a beauty long buried. "He's beautiful," he whispered. "What did you say?" Thomas snapped. "I'll take her," Harrison replied. And just like that, Glory's life changed in an instant. With teary eyes, she packed a few old clothes into a black plastic bag. No one hugged her. No prayers were said. No one even looked back. Only her half-brother, little Sam, stood behind the house crying, waving goodbye. Glory followed Harrison toward the city, a long, exhausting journey. The bus sped through unfamiliar towns, rustling trees and dusty roads. She sat by the window, staring into the distance. It was her first time leaving that village, once her whole world, though filled with pain. She didn't know what lay ahead, but deep inside she whispered a prayer. "God, please lead the way. Please don't let this man be like my father. Please give me peace. I'm so tired." Glory prayed silently as the bus rolled away from the dusty red village. During the entire ride, Harrison said almost nothing. He just kept his eyes on the road, occasionally glancing at Glory, the fragile girl who had weathered too many storms. With each glance he sighed. Finally they reached the city. Everything felt like a different world, towering buildings, endless traffic, dazzling lights, and a rush of people everywhere. Overwhelmed by the noise and chaos, Glory clutched her bag tightly, trying to stay calm. It was her first time in a city, both strange and overwhelming. They continued by taking a three-wheeled motorbike through quiet alleyways. When it stopped, Harrison paid the fare and led her down a flower-lined path. Before them stood a large black gate. Harrison knocked gently. A few seconds later, the gate slowly opened. Glory gasped. Before her was a spacious, pristine compound, straight out of a movie. The main house was painted a bright white, the walkway bordered with carefully arranged flowers, and in the corner, a small fountain quietly bubbled. They didn't enter the large house, but instead walked around to the back, where there was a neat little structure known as the back house. Inside, it had a bedroom, a living room, a small kitchen, and a simple bathroom. "This is where I live," Harrison said with a smile. "I just got a job as a security guard a few days ago. The homeowner is really kind. She lets me stay here for free as long as I keep the property safe." Glory looked at him in surprise. "Yeah, she lives in the big house with her only son. As long as I do my job well, I can stay here long term." Glory looked around the house again. It was small, but clean and cozy. The roof didn't leak, the doors closed properly, and the bed had fresh sheets and pillows. For her, someone who used to sleep on a torn mat in her village kitchen, it felt like a palace. A faint smile appeared on her lips, for the first time in a very long time. "If this is God's will for me, then I accept it," she whispered. Harrison looked at her, his voice gentle. "Do you feel okay?" Glory nodded. "I feel at peace, something I haven't felt in so long." 2 days after arriving in the city, Glory woke up to a peaceful morning filled with the comforting aroma of food from the small kitchen. Sunlight gently poured through the window, blanketing the room in warmth. For the first time in years, she had slept well. No yelling, no fear, no beatings, just quiet and warmth. She stepped into the kitchen, where Harrison was stirring something in a pan. He turned when he heard her. "Good morning," Glory said softly. "Good morning, Glory," Harrison smiled. "I made breakfast. Hope you slept well." She nodded, her eyes glowing with joy, like a child. They both laughed softly. No words needed, just a glance to understand that a new chapter had begun. "Another breakfast, go change. I want to introduce you to someone," Harrison said. Glory asked curiously, "Who is it?" "Just wear something simple and neat. You'll see." She went back into the room and changed into the soft dress Harrison had bought for her the day before. She brushed her hair and stepped out, heart pounding. They left the little house, following the stone path that led to the big house up front. The tall black gate slowly opened. In front of them stood a graceful woman in her late 50s, with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. "Good morning, ma'am," Harrison greeted respectfully. "Good morning, Harrison, and who is this lovely young lady?" "This is Glory, my wife," Harrison said confidently. The woman, Mrs. Walker, looked at Glory with warmth. "So this is the wife you've told me so much about. She's lovely. Please, come inside." Glory stepped in cautiously, eyes wide. The living room was spotless and bright, everything elegant and refined. She had never seen such a beautiful space. Mrs. Walker gently took her hand, smiling kindly. "Welcome, Glory. I already like you. You have a pure spirit. I'm glad Harrison brought you here." Glory smiled shyly. "Thank you, ma'am. Just call me Mrs. Walker if you need anything. Don't hesitate to ask. This house is big enough for peace." "Yes, ma'am," Glory replied softly. After a short chat, they returned to the little house out back. That evening, after cleaning the kitchen and tidying up the room, Glory sat quietly on the edge of the bed, deep in thought. Harrison was kneeling on the floor, fixing a loose handle on the wooden cabinet. "Harrison," she called softly. "Yeah? Can I say something?" He looked up, eyes gentle. "Of course." She took a deep breath, twisting her fingers. "When my father said I had to go with you to the city, I felt worthless, like I was being discarded, like I didn't matter." Harrison stood up, his eyes still fixed on her. "I thought you'd be just like him, that you'd yell at me, hit me, treat me like a servant. I was scared, so scared." Her voice began to tremble, and tears spilled down her cheeks. "But you're not like that. You give me peace, space, you respect me, you even cook for me." She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "I just wanted to say thank you. I don't regret coming here anymore. Now I believe maybe this is God's plan for me." Harrison quietly sat beside her, gently taking her hand. "I would never hurt you, Glory. That's not the kind of man I want to be." He paused for a moment, then continued. "You know, I've liked you for a long time. Since the first time I saw you out on the village field." Glory looked up at him, her eyes filled with surprise. "I wanted to speak to your father, but I was scared. I thought he'd reject me, insult me, or throw me out because I had nothing." Harrison smiled gently. "But that day, when he said I could take you instead of payment, I was shocked, really. But deep down, I felt relieved. It was like a door had opened." Glory lowered her head and spoke softly. "I don't love you yet, Harrison." He smiled without a hint of hesitation. "I know, and I'm not in a rush." She nodded slightly. "But I like the way you treat me. Like I matter, like I'm not a mistake, but a queen." Harrison's smile widened. "That's because you're a queen, Glory. You were just locked up in the wrong palace." Glory let out a small laugh, wiping away another tear. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, truly valued. Though love hadn't blossomed yet, something else had begun to grow: respect, peace, and trust. A month passed, and Glory's life slowly began to brighten. Every day she entered the kitchen of the little house, trying out new recipes. She even started writing down her creations in a small notebook, a gift from Harrison. Confidence began to take root within her. One sunny afternoon, while Glory was helping Mrs. Walker bring groceries inside, the woman gently called her over. "Glory, come sit with me for a bit." She wiped her hands and sat next to Mrs. Walker, who smiled warmly. "You know, Harrison once said something very sweet about you." Glory tilted her head, curious and a bit surprised. "What was it, ma'am?" "You're a wonderful cook, and I agree. You work hard, stay humble, and you have a caring heart." "Thank you, ma'am," Glory said softly, her cheeks blushing. Mrs. Walker continued. "My chef moved abroad with the family, so I've been looking for someone trustworthy to replace them. I've been watching you for some time now, and I believe you're the right person." Glory's mouth dropped open in shock. Her eyes began to blur. "Oh, Mom, I don't even know what to say. Thank you. May God bless you." Mrs. Walker gently patted her hand. "You deserve it, my dear. You're a good girl." Still trembling with joy, Glory wiped her tears and said, "Ma'am, can I share something with you?" "Of course, my dear. I've always wanted to earn money, not to shop or have fun, but to go back to school. I want to go to college." Mrs. Walker's face lit up. "You want to go to college?" "Yes, ma'am. After finishing high school, I had to quit because of family issues. But I love learning, and I want to return to the classroom." Mrs. Walker wrapped her in a loving embrace, a hug full of warmth. My dear, I love education, and I love girls who love learning. That's a beautiful dream. I'm so proud of you. Glory's heart bloomed. She could clearly feel something changing, something good and full of hope. As soon as she finished her work in the kitchen, she dashed back to the little house, her sandals slapping joyfully against the ground. Harrison, Harrison, she called out, her voice full of excitement. Harrison stepped out looking confused. What is it? Why are you yelling like that? Harrison, you won't believe it. Mrs. Walker said she wants me to be her new chef. Really? Harrison's eyes widened in surprise. And she said she's going to pay me a monthly salary, too, Glory beamed. I also told her I want to go to college, and she was so happy. Harrison pulled her into a joyful hug. That's my wife, the amazing woman of hard work and dreams. He blushed and playfully swatted his arm. Stop it, Harrison! No, I mean it, he said, taking her hand. You've come such a long way, from the countryside to the city, from tears to smiles, from rejection to being celebrated. Glory smiled, her eyes glowing. It feels like a dream. And the best part is, Harrison added, this dream is just beginning. That evening, after a simple yet warm dinner, Glory and Harrison lay side by side on the small bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling. It had been a long day, tiring but fulfilling. Glory couldn't sleep. Her mind was buzzing with 1,000 thoughts. After a moment of silence, she turned to Harrison and whispered, Harrison. Yeah, he replied, still looking at the ceiling. Can I ask you something? Anything. He turned to face her. He took a deep breath and spoke slowly. Why, since I came here, have you never touched me? Harrison blinked. He hadn't expected that question. She continued, her voice trembling. I mean, we're husband and wife. If we're someone else, they wouldn't have waited this long. Harrison sat up, leaning against the wall. His voice was calm and steady. You're right. Many men wouldn't wait. But I'm not like them. I didn't bring you here to take advantage of you, Glory. I brought you here to love, to care for, to protect. He paused for a few seconds, then looked directly into her eyes. I see the pain in your eyes, even when you smile. I never want to hurt you again. Tears began to fall from the corners of Glory's eyes. Harrison gently took her hand. I want to wait until you're truly ready, until your heart knows love, love for me. And when that moment comes, if you choose to share yourself, it should be because of love, not obligation, not pressure. He paused again and continued, his voice deep and sincere. I know. You've never been close to anyone. I know you carry so much shame, abandonment, and fear. That night, when your father gave you to me like a piece of property, I knew a part of you broke. Glory looked down, her heart pounding. But you're not worthless. You are everything, Glory. You're strong. And when that moment comes, when it's your choice, not out of fear but love, I'll be ready too. Tears streamed quietly down Glory's cheeks. She whispered, "Erd, you really mean that?" "I do. I want you to feel safe with me, Glory. This marriage, it has to be built on love, not fear." She smiled softly, wiping her tears. "Thank you, Harrison. You've changed my life more than you know. I used to think all men were like my father, but you're different." Harrison leaned closer, not to claim her, but to protect. and they lay there in the warm, dim light of the small room, like two souls slowly healing. He kissed her forehead gently. "Good night, my queen." Glory lay down, her heart full of peace. For the first time in her life, she felt safe in a man's arms. Not just a husband, but a friend, a steady presence. Just 2 days after Glory began working in the main house kitchen, something strange happened. That morning, she was preparing Mrs. Walker's favorite vegetable soup, a dish made with bitter melon leaves, elephant ear stalks, and a bit of Malabar spinach. She had just finished slicing the leaves when the kitchen door swung open. Glory turned around, and standing before her was a tall, handsome young man, his eyes fixed intently on her. It was Daniel, Mrs. Walker's only son. Daniel stood still for a few seconds, seemingly surprised, then smiled. "Wow, you're truly beautiful." Glory froze, unsure how to react. "My mom told me about you," Daniel said, stepping slowly into the kitchen. "She said you're smart, humble, and have a unique beauty, but I thought she was exaggerating. Now I believe her." He leaned on the kitchen counter, his eyes scanning her from head to toe. "Wow, you're really stunning. I think God must have made you on a Sunday morning when he had extra time and was in the best mood." Glory felt uncomfortable. She lowered her head, trying to focus on her work. "Good afternoon, sir," she said softly, trying to ignore his words. Daniel chuckled. "Come on, don't call me sir. I'm just a guy. Just call me Daniel." Glory shook her head, her voice firm. "I'm sorry, sir. That wouldn't be proper." Daniel laughed again, his eyes sparkling. "You're so polite. I like that." Glory didn't respond and continued cooking in silence. After a while, Danielle left the kitchen, still wearing that smile. That evening, when Glory returned to the back house, Harrison was sitting on the wooden bench, waiting for her with his usual warm smile. "Welcome home, my queen. How was your day?" Glory sat beside him, looking slightly worried. "Harrison, something happened today." He turned to her. "What is it? Are you okay?" "I'm fine. But Daniel, Mrs. Walker's son, came into the kitchen while I was cooking." "Okay. Then?" Harrison listened intently. "Aaron said things that made me uncomfortable. He complimented my looks, said God must have made me on a Sunday, and told me not to call him sir anymore." Harrison furrowed his brows slightly, but still tried to smile. "Ah, Daniel, he jokes like that. It's nothing, love." Gloria didn't smile. "Harrison, the way he looked at me, it was like he was eyeing a meal." Harrison chuckled softly, then held her hand. "Sweetheart, don't worry. Daniel's harmless. He likes to talk nonsense, but doesn't mean any harm." Glory looked into his eyes. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Harrison said gently. "But if he ever crosses the line, just tell me. I'll protect you, always." Glory nodded, her expression softening, but deep down a small unease lingered. "If you say so," Glory whispered. Harrison smiled and kissed her forehead. "You're always safe with me, Glory." She nodded. But something about Daniel's gaze had unsettled her, a chill she couldn't quite explain. A few days later, Glory was back in the kitchen preparing lunch for Mrs. Walker. She didn't know that from a hidden corner, a pair of eyes was watching her every move. It was Daniel again. He quietly stepped into the kitchen, leaning against the doorframe, smiling. "You know, there's something really special about the way you cook." Glory turned around politely. "Good afternoon, sir." Daniel ignored the greeting. "Yes, I don't want to beat around the bush," he said, walking slowly toward her, lowering his voice. I like you, Glory. I mean it. You're beautiful, smart, hard-working. And I'm not just saying that to flatter you. I want you to be my girl. Larry froze. Sir? Daniel nodded. Just hear me out. I can change your life. I'll send you to study abroad, not just college here, but in London, Canada, anywhere you want. A new phone, stylish clothes, spending money. You won't have to struggle another day. Glory stood silently, shocked. Daniel stepped closer. You're wasting your time with that poor security guard. What does he have to offer you? I can have my mother fire him or pay him to disappear. Just say the word, and you'll never have to live an ordinary life again. Glory took a deep breath and slowly stepped back. With all due respect, sir, she said calmly but firmly, I'm not interested in any of that. Daniel raised his eyebrows in disbelief. What? I'm focused on my marriage, my work, and my dream of going to school. I can't throw all that away for a few seconds of empty promises. Daniel let out a mocking laugh. Marriage? Don't tell me you actually consider what you have with Harrison a real marriage. You should be ashamed. At your age, you should be in school, or with someone like me, not some poor security guard. Glory stood her ground, her voice steady. I'm not ashamed. I'm proud of my husband, the man who treats me with respect and love. He may not have much, but I believe one day God will bless him. Daniel scoffed. You're dreaming. Glory looked him straight in the eyes. I'd rather dream with someone who truly loves me than live a fake life with someone who only wants to possess me. Daniel shook his head and let out a cold laugh. You'll regret this? No, sir, Glory said firmly. If standing by the one who stood by me when I had nothing is a mistake, then it's one I'm willing to make for the rest of my life. Daniel stood silently for a few seconds, his eyes darkening, then turned and walked out of the kitchen, clearly displeased with her answer. That night, Glory returned to the small house, looking quiet and withdrawn. Harrison was sitting on the porch and called out when he saw her. What's got my queen so quiet today? You're so quiet. Is something wrong? He asked, worry in his eyes. Gloria looked at him, her eyes welling up. Daniel came to see me again. This time, he promised me so many things, studying abroad, money, new clothes, a new life, but only if I agreed to be his. Harrison slowly stood up, his fists clenched. Glory continued and said, he could pay you to leave or convince his mother to fire you, just to have me. Harrison's eyes hardened, but seeing the pain on Glory's face, he exhaled slowly, trying to stay calm. What did you say to him? He asked gently. I said no. I told him I wasn't interested. I believe in you, in us. I believe that one day God will bless you, Harrison. He was overcome with emotion, unable to speak. He pulled her into a tight embrace. Thank you, Glory. Thank you for standing by me. She smiled softly, wiping a tear from her cheek. You were the first to stand by me. Now it's my turn. That night they knelt side by side in prayer, a simple but sincere prayer in a world that never stopped shaking. The next morning, Glory woke up early, but her heart felt heavy. She tried to smile, tried to act like everything was fine, but deep inside she was tired of pretending. Daniel's words still echoed in her head like an ugly song that wouldn't fade. She couldn't stay silent any longer. Glory walked straight to the main house and knocked gently. Mrs. Walker, wearing her usual warm smile, answered the door. Glory, my dear, good morning. Did you sleep well? Good morning, ma'am, Glory replied softly, her eyes cast down. Mrs. Walker quickly noticed something was wrong. What is it, dear? You don't look like yourself today. Glory took a deep breath. "Ma'am, I came to tell you something. I hope you won't be angry." Mrs. Walker sat down calmly. "Of course, dear. Go ahead. I'm listening." "It's about your son, Daniel." Mrs. Walker's expression shifted slightly. "Daniel? What about him?" Glory's voice grew low but firm. He's been bothering me, saying things that make me uncomfortable. He promised money, said he'd send me abroad for school, if I'd leave my husband and be with him." Mrs. Walker was stunned, her mouth slightly open. "Emily even said he could pay Harrison to leave or have you fire him just to get me," Glory said, her voice trembling. "I respect you and this house, but I can't stay silent anymore." Mrs. Walker leaned back in her chair, folding her arms across her chest. After a long silence, she finally spoke, softly but clearly. "Glory, you're a beautiful and intelligent young woman. You deserve a better life. Maybe Daniel just sees your potential. Perhaps you should give him a chance." Glory's eyes widened. "Ma'am." Mrs. Walker's tone had grown firmer. "I'm not saying you should leave your husband right away, but think about it carefully. We can give you everything, an education, comfort. Even your husband could benefit. I could pay him to walk away. This is a great opportunity for you, Glory." Glory slowly stood up. Her hands began to tremble, but her eyes burned with resolve. Her voice remained steady, even as her heart pounded. "With all due respect, ma'am, I am not that kind of woman." Mrs. Walker said nothing. "I didn't come here to sell myself. I didn't marry Harrison for money. I married him because when the whole world turned its back on me, he held my hand. When even my own father treated me like a sack of grain to be traded for labor, Harrison restored my dignity." Tears welled up, but Glory didn't stop. "If I must, I'll quit this job. I won't tie myself to someone I don't love, and I will never betray my husband. Never." Mrs. Walker opened her mouth to respond, but Glory gently raised her hand, respectful but firm. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I've said all I need to say. If Daniel doesn't stop this foolishness, we'll leave this place. I can't live where I'm being disrespected like this." She turned and walked quickly out of the house, tears slipping down her cheeks. Her chest burned with both anger and sorrow. She had once admired Mrs. Walker, a woman she believed embodied kindness. But now she saw her for what she was, someone who viewed love as a transaction and people as names with price tags. How could someone like her actually believe she could buy someone's heart? Glory thought, her steps quick and resolute as she returned to the small house. Her chest rose and fell, but amid the rage and hurt, one thing became clearer than ever. She loved Harrison, and she would never regret it. When Glory opened the door to their room, a sight made her stop in her tracks. On the small wooden table were stacks of cash, more money than she had ever seen in her life. She froze, stammering. "Harrison, what is this? Where did this money come from?" Harrison rose from the bed, his eyes calm and warm. He looked at her with deep affection. "Come here, love. Have a seat." Glory walked over, her eyes still locked on the money. "Tell me, what is this about?" Harrison smiled gently. "This money I've been saving for a long time, bit by bit. It's sweat and sacrifice. I plan to use it to start a business, a repair shop for electronics. That's been my dream since I first arrived in this city." He paused, emotion shining in his eyes. "But today, when I saw you, The woman who didn't just turn down money but stood by her poor husband in the face of temptation. I knew you deserved more. You deserved to reach your dream. Glory still didn't understand. But what does that have to do with me? Harrison pointed at the money. I want you to use this to go to school, to college, to chase your dream. You talk about it at every meal, every conversation. I know you want it more than anything. So take it, go study. I'll be fine. Glory was speechless. She looked from the money to him, her eyes filling with tears. No, she said softly, shaking her head. No, Harrison. I'm serious, Glory. And so am I, as she stood up, her voice firm. No, Harrison. I can't. This is your dream. You saved every dollar the hard way to build your future. And now, just because of me, you're ready to give it up? Harrison started to speak, but Glory continued, her voice now burning with conviction. I love you, Harrison, and I'm proud of you, a man who isn't wealthy, but has a heart bigger than this whole city. Tears streamed down Glory's face again, but this time they weren't from sorrow. So I want us to use this money wisely. Let's rent a small apartment outside this place and start a business. I'll manage it. You'll help with cooking and operations. Once things are stable, I'll return to college step by step, slow but steady. Harrison stood there stunned. He looked at her as if he was truly seeing for the first time the extraordinary woman standing before him. You want us to leave this house? He asked. Yes, Glory replied firmly. I don't want to stay here anymore. Not when your boss and her son treat us like we're disposable. We deserve peace, even if it's in a tiny rented room, as long as it's ours. All we need is a small shop, a simple room to rent, a new beginning, that's all I want. Harrison stepped forward, taking her hand, his eyes misty. Glory, you're not just beautiful, you're wise. You're special. You're everything I've prayed for over the years. Glory smiled through her tears. And you're the only man I've ever wanted. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. This time both of them cried, not out of sadness but from deep emotion. Then they shared a kiss of true love, not for money, not out of obligation, but because of trust, because of loyalty, because two people who had nothing had found everything in each other. That night they lay in each other's arms, saying little, just soft laughter, sweet silence, and the moonlight shining through the small window. Brighter days are coming, Glory whispered. Yes, my queen. One step at a time, we'll get there together, Harrison replied. The next morning Harrison wasn't home. Glory got up early, cleaned everything, but her heart still weighed heavy from yesterday's conversation with Mrs. Walker. She couldn't stop thinking about Daniel, about that offer, and about the bold decision she had made. Just as she sat down to rest, there was a knock on the door. She opened it and froze. Mrs. Walker and Daniel were standing outside. Good morning, dear, Mrs. Walker greeted her gently. Please, Glory, we came to apologize, Daniel said, his face sincere. Glory stepped back slightly, then opened the door to let them in. Mrs. Walker sat down, looking at Glory with genuine eyes. We're truly sorry for what my son said and for what I said yesterday. We were wrong. Daniel bowed his head. I was stupid. I let pride and bad habits cloud my judgment. But now I see clearly, Harrison is a lucky man to have a wife like you. Mrs. Walker nodded. Yes, very lucky. You are a remarkable woman, Glory. Someone like you isn't easy to find. Glory's expression softened. She sat and listened quietly. Yesterday I called you my daughter-in-law, Mrs. Walker continued with a smile, And I wasn't joking. You truly are our daughter-in-law, Glory. Glory smiled gently. Thank you, ma'am. I'm no longer angry. I forgive you. Mrs. Walker's smile grew warmer. But just before they left, she said something that made Glory freeze. You are my son's wife. Glory frowned slightly. Your son? Mrs. Walker simply smiled, her voice mysterious. Don't worry, dear. Soon you'll understand. After a few more moments, they hugged Glory and left, leaving her standing in the doorway, her mind spinning with questions. What did they just say? Her son? Why did she call me her son's wife? That evening, Harrison returned. He looked tired, but his eyes were calm and relieved. Glory turned quickly. Where have you been all day? I've been waiting. Harrison walked closer, his tone gentle. Love, there's something I need to tell you. Gloria crossed her arms, her face serious. What now? Harrison took her hands and looked deep into her eyes. Glory, I'm sorry. She raised an eyebrow. Sorry for what? He took a deep breath. For lying to you. Glory's face changed instantly. Lying about what? Harrison sat down, his voice low and heavy. Daniel, he's not just the landlord's son. He's my biological brother. And Mrs. Walker, she's not my boss. She's my mother. Glory's mouth dropped open. What? It's true. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide it for so long. I just wanted to know if anyone could love me for who I am. Not for money, not for where I came from. He bowed his head, voice full of regret. I've been hurt before. Women surrounded me only for money. The moment I stopped giving, they walked away. I needed to know if anyone could truly love me. Glory sat down, still in shock. Harrison, you went too far. You shouldn't have done that. I know. You have every right to be angry. I'm asking you, please forgive me. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Glory smiled slightly, teasing. All right, I forgive you, but you owe me. Harrison grinned. Owe you what? At the very least, a car and a mansion. He burst into laughter. Easy, my queen. Consider it a deal. They both laughed. A laugh of relief. Glory threw herself into his arms. I love you, Harrison. And I love you, my future Dr. Glory. They kissed, deeply, honestly, no more pretending, no more hiding. Their love now clear, certain, and unshakable. Word spread fast. Harrison, the poor security guard, was actually a secret billionaire. When Glory's father heard the news, he nearly choked on his palm wine. Eyes bloodshot, he immediately called, My daughter, forgive your father. I was blind. I didn't know God had blessed you like this. Glory said nothing. I want your half-sister to come live with you in the city. Life here is too hard. Glaudy sighed, her tone calm. Aunt, I'm sorry, but no. Glory, please. I've forgiven you, but I want to stay away from you and from your cruel wife. I'm finally at peace. I've had enough. Her voice sharpened. If you ever need serious help, call me. But if it's just to disturb me, please don't. And take care of your wife. I have no place for her in my heart anymore. She hung up, without hesitation. Glory closed her eyes, then looked up at the sky. Thank you, God, for bringing Harrison into my life. Years later, Glory, dressed in a crisp white lab coat, walked across the graduation stage to roaring applause. She was now officially a doctor of medicine, a long, tough journey, but glorious. From the audience below, Harrison's voice rang louder than anyone else's. "That's my wife. My God, look at my amazing woman." After the ceremony, he embraced her tightly, eyes filled with tears. "I'm so proud of you, love. You're mine forever." Glory smiled, hugging him back. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for staying with me through everything." "You are the queen of my life," Harrison whispered, kissing her forehead. One peaceful afternoon, Harrison took Glory for a drive around the city. They pulled into a luxurious neighborhood and stopped in front of a white mansion with golden gates. Glory looked around, puzzled. "Why are we here?" Harrison smiled mysteriously and pulled out a set of keys. "This is your mansion, my queen." Glory's jaw dropped. "Harrison, stop joking." "I'm serious. I once promised you a car, a mansion, and today I'm making good on every promise." She burst into tears and laughter all at once, throwing herself into his arms. "You're crazy. I love you so much." "Wait." Glory stepped back, eyes twinkling. "I have good news too." Harrison raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "I went for a checkup last week. I'm pregnant. 3 months. Harrison froze for a moment. Then he shouted, "Are you serious, Glory?" "It's true," she beamed. "We're having a baby." He lifted her off the ground and spun her around, shouting with overflowing joy. "Thank God. I'm going to spoil you and our baby to the max." He knelt and kissed her belly. "My child, your dad already loves you so much." Maury looked at him, tears in her eyes, but this time tears of pure happiness. "From someone who was cast aside, now I'm a queen, just like my name, Glory." To our dear audience, what did this story mean to you? What lessons did you learn from the challenging yet deeply loving journey of Glory and Harris? Share your thoughts and takeaways in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss more inspiring stories to come.